There is a picture most of us carry in our minds about what a wealthy person looks like. The luxury car, the sprawling house, the easy confidence of someone who either inherited a fortune or stumbled into the right deal at exactly the right moment. And that picture, that persistent and deeply seductive image of how wealth arrives and what it looks like when it does, is quietly costing millions of ordinary Americans their financial futures. Because if you spend your life waiting for the windfall, for the inheritance, for the big break, you will almost certainly miss the actual path. And the actual path is something so ordinary, so undramatic, so available to regular people that most never recognize it as a path at all until they look back at someone else walking it and wonder how they got there. Today, I want to give you the most honest conversation about wealth, financial security, and retirement in America that you are likely to find anywhere. Not the social media version where 25-year-olds in rented Lamborghinis tell you about their passive income streams, the real version. The version supported by actual data about how wealth is built in this country, who builds it, how long it takes, and why so many people who should have reached financial security never quite got there. And I want to have this conversation specifically with the people who are in their 60s and 70s right now, because the message you have been receiving from most financial content does not apply to where you actually are. And I think you deserve something that does. Near the end of this video, I am going to share a combination of programs and strategies that most seniors have never seen presented together. A genuine hidden system that can change the financial math of your retirement starting this year without requiring a single additional dollar of savings. But I am saving that for later because it lands with far more power once we have built the foundation together. So stay with me. Let us begin with numbers, because this topic is so surrounded by mythology that the actual data can feel shocking when you finally see it clearly. As of 2025, according to research compiled from Federal Reserve data and financial wealth studies, there are approximately 23.8 million millionaires in the United States. That represents about 8.8% of American adults, roughly 1 in every 11 people. The country added more than 560,000 new millionaires in 2024 alone, which means more than 1,500 people crossed the $1 million threshold every single day last year. But the word millionaire carries a definition that most people never examine, and the definition changes everything about what these numbers actually mean. A net worth millionaire includes the total value of everything you own: your home, your retirement accounts, your savings, your car, every asset minus every debt you carry. Approximately 23 to 24 million Americans meet that definition. If you use only investable assets and remove the primary residence from the calculation, that number drops to around 14.5 million households. And if you look only at genuinely liquid millionaires, people who have $1 million or more they can access right now without penalties or tax consequences or the difficulty of selling something illiquid, you are looking at roughly 6 million Americans, about 2.2% of adults. A homeowner in a high-cost city who has watched their home appreciate to $1.1 million, but carries modest retirement savings, has a net worth on paper that crosses the threshold, but cannot easily convert that into the monthly income needed to live on. A 58-year-old with $1.3 million in a traditional 401k faces real penalties accessing those funds before age 59 and a half. These distinctions matter not to diminish anyone's accomplishment, but because financial security is ultimately about access, about whether your money can show up for you when you need it. And here is the piece of data that most people have never heard and that I think matters more than any other number in this conversation. The average age of an American millionaire is 61. 66% of millionaires in this country are between the ages of 60 and 79. Only 9.8% are between 35 and 44. Under 35, the number barely registers statistically. The median age at which Americans first reach millionaire status is 50, meaning the typical person who built $1 million took 25 to 30 years of patient accumulation after entering the workforce to get there. 95% of millionaires own a home. The overwhelming majority are self-made. They did not receive inheritances that made them wealthy. They built it themselves through decades of ordinary decisions applied consistently over time. Think about what that tells us. Wealth in America is not built through windfalls. It is not built through genius or extraordinary luck or perfect timing. It is built through compounding and time, those two forces working together quietly in the background for years until the result becomes undeniable. The mathematics behind this are worth sitting with because they reveal something important. A 25-year-old who invests $500 per month at an average annual return of 8% over 40 years accumulates approximately $1.75 million. That same $500 per month starting at age 40 with only 25 years of compounding at the identical return produces roughly $475,000. Not even close to $1 million. Same monthly contribution. Same investment return, nearly 4 times the difference in outcome produced entirely by the 15 years of compounding that were lost. Time is the most powerful wealth-building force available to a human being, and once it passes, no savings rate and no investment strategy can give it back. Now, I want to pause here because I know many of you watching this are in your 60s or your 70s, and I know that the mathematics of compounding time can feel like a reminder of a window that is already closed. I want to address that directly and honestly because that feeling, while understandable, is not the complete picture. The conversation about wealth for people in your stage of life is not the same conversation as it is for a 30-year-old, and it should not be presented as if it is. There are strategies, programs, and moves available specifically to where you are right now that can meaningfully improve your financial security in ways that most seniors have never been shown. That is what the second half of this video is built around. But first, I want to ask you something important. Please take a moment and type in the comments your age and the single biggest financial challenge you are carrying right now. Is it the gap between what you have saved and what you need? Medical bills that arrive faster than you can manage them? Prescription drug costs that take a growing portion of every monthly check? Fear about whether your money will last? Caring for a spouse or a parent while trying to manage your own finances? Whatever it is, tell me below. I read every comment on this channel, and your answers directly shape what I make next. Now, here is the honest explanation for why so many people who should have built financial security never quite got there. And it is not the explanation most financial content gives you. The standard version of this conversation puts the blame squarely on behavior. You spent too much, saved too little, started too late. And while those factors are real, they are dramatically incomplete in a way that borders on dishonest, because they ignore the single most powerful force that separates the people who build wealth from those who do not. That force is life interruption. And the households that accumulate the most are not necessarily the most disciplined or the most financially sophisticated. They are the ones who experience the fewest catastrophic interruptions, or who had the resources and the support system to recover from those interruptions faster when they occurred. Divorce is probably the single largest wealth destroyer for middle-class Americans, and it is almost never discussed in those terms. Before divorce, a household operates with the powerful efficiency of shared costs. One mortgage, one set of utilities, combined incomes flowing toward a single shared life. After divorce, there are suddenly 2 of everything, often tens of thousands of dollars in legal expenses, and a savings rate that in many cases drops to 0 for years as both individuals attempt to financially restabilize. But the most lasting damage is not the immediate division of assets. It is the compounding that does not happen in the years that follow. A couple saving 20% of their combined income may each save nothing for 2, 3, or 4 years after separating as they rebuild. Those years of investment growth simply disappear. Divorce does not merely divide existing wealth, it can permanently alter the trajectory of future accumulation for both people in ways that show up quietly years later in retirement account balances that are hundreds of thousands of dollars smaller than they should have been. Serious illness carries a financial cascade that most people underestimate until they are inside it. The direct medical costs are visible. The indirect costs are often larger and less anticipated. Lost wages during treatment and recovery, a forced early retirement that permanently reduces Social Security earnings, which are calculated on your highest 35 earning years. Long-term caregiving costs that can reach $300,000 or more for extended nursing home care, according to the Genworth Cost of Care Survey. Disability during working years is statistically more likely than death before retirement age, and yet the majority of working Americans are dramatically underinsured against it. People prepare for death far more carefully than they prepare for being unable to work, and the financial consequences of that gap are severe and lasting. Job loss timing matters enormously in ways most people do not fully appreciate until it happens. A layoff at 30 is painful and disruptive, but typically survivable, with decades of career recovery still ahead. A layoff at 55 or 60 is a fundamentally different situation. Research consistently documents that late career job loss often results in earnings that never fully recover. Someone earning $150,000 annually who loses their job at 57 may return to the workforce earning $120,000 or $100,000, or may find only part-time work available. Retirement contributions stop during the search and transition. The portfolio may need to be accessed early, triggering taxes and penalties. Social Security benefits, calculated on your highest 35 earning years, can be permanently reduced if late career income drops significantly. A layoff at the wrong moment can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in total lifetime wealth through mechanisms that compound silently and invisibly over the years that follow. Caregiving deserves its own chapter in this conversation because it touches the lives of millions of Americans, a disproportionate share of them women, who step back from their careers or exit them entirely to care for aging parents, an ill spouse, or children with significant needs. Each year spent out of the workforce is not merely a year of lower income. It is a year of missed retirement contributions, missed employer matching contributions, missed investment compounding, and potentially a lower Social Security benefit calculated on fewer high-earning years. A 3-year caregiving pause in your 40s can reduce lifetime accumulated wealth by $200,000 or more when all of those variables are calculated together. This is not a personal failing. It is a structural reality of the lives millions of people live. And it deserves to be spoken about honestly, rather than folded into a generic message about saving more and spending less. The honest truth that most financial content never says out loud is this: many people who did not reach the financial security they hoped for did not fail because of bad habits or insufficient discipline. Life forced decisions upon them that came with enormous financial costs: divorce, illness, job loss, caregiving, economic circumstances beyond their control. And that is a profoundly different message than the one most financial channels deliver. Acknowledging it does not remove the responsibility to keep moving forward. It changes the conversation from shame into strategy. Right now, before I walk you through the practical framework, I want to make one request. If this video is giving you a more complete and honest picture of financial life than you have found in most places, please hit the like button right now. That one action helps this video reach other people in their 60s and 70s who are carrying these same questions quietly without the information they need to answer them. And if you are not yet subscribed to this channel, please subscribe now, because the next section is the one I consider the most important in this entire video. It is about the specific programs and strategies that most seniors have never seen combined into a single coherent picture, one that can reduce your monthly expenses, strengthen your financial position, and change how your retirement actually functions starting this year. Do not go anywhere. Now let us talk about what you can actually do, because none of what I have described is a life sentence. There are 10 disciplines that separate the people who build financial security from those who do not, and I am going to walk through all 10. But I want you to understand from the beginning that for people who are already in their 60s and 70s, the most powerful disciplines are not the ones about starting early. They are the ones about claiming what is already available to you and about managing what you have with the precision it deserves. The foundation for anyone still in the workforce is the savings rate, not the investment selection, not the platform, not the timing. Simply saving more. A person saving 20% of their income in a basic index fund will almost always accumulate more wealth over time than someone saving 5% in a perfectly optimized portfolio, because the gap between income and spending is ultimately what compounds. When income increases, the discipline that protects wealth is directing at least half of every raise or bonus towards savings before lifestyle expands to consume it. That single habit, applied consistently across a career, produces results that dwarf almost any other financial decision a person can make. Protecting your ability to earn is a discipline that applies across every stage of working life. Disability insurance, adequate health coverage, and a genuine emergency fund of 12 to 24 months of living expenses are not luxuries or extras. They are the protective layer that prevents one bad event from becoming a permanent financial setback. The majority of Americans insure their cars and their homes while leaving their largest financial asset, the capacity to generate future income, dramatically underinsured. The financial consequences of that gap show up in the real stories of real people whose recoveries took years longer than they needed to because a single interruption cascaded without protection beneath it. Staying invested through market downturns is the discipline that preserves decades of accumulation in the moments when emotion pushes hardest against logic. Markets have declined 30, 40, and 50% multiple times across American financial history. The investors who remained invested during those declines, who continued their contributions where possible, who resisted the urge to sell and lock in losses, recovered and went on to build significant wealth. The ones who sold at the bottom missed the recoveries that followed and in many cases never fully recaptured the ground they surrendered. Behavioral risk, the risk of making a permanent financial decision in response to a temporary emotional state, is as costly and as real as any market risk, and it is the one that most financial plans never adequately prepare for. The discipline of redirecting energy from looking wealthy to becoming financially secure is one that I believe matters more in our current consumer culture than almost any other. A significant portion of American household spending flows toward status signals toward the car, the house, the clothing, the technology that communicates success to others. Real financial security is built through ownership of assets that grow and produce income. Index funds, retirement account balances, real estate equity, savings that compound over time. Those two directions, spending on appearances and building actual wealth, pull against each other with every dollar, and the people who build genuine financial security are the ones who made that trade-off consciously and consistently. Now here is the piece I promised you, the one that I believe is the most important and the most overlooked in the conversation about financial security for seniors specifically. For Americans who are already in their 60s and 70s, the conversation about wealth is not primarily about savings rates and compounding time. It is about claiming every program, every benefit, and every legal protection that this country has made available specifically to people in your situation, and coordinating those programs so that they work together to reduce your monthly expenses and extend the effective life of whatever you have accumulated. Let me tell you about a woman named Eleanor. Eleanor is 72 years old and lives alone in rural Kentucky. She spent 11 years out of the workforce caring for her husband through a long illness, and when he passed, she found herself with a modest Social Security survivor benefit, a small savings account, and expenses that consistently ran about $400 per month beyond what her income could cover. She had been quietly drawing down her savings for 3 years, watching the balance fall and telling herself that she simply had not saved enough and that there was nothing to be done about it. A volunteer benefits counselor at her local area agency on aging sat with Eleanor for 2 hours. By the end of that session, the counselor had identified that Eleanor qualified for the Medicare Savings Program, which eliminated her Part B premium of $185 per month. That MSP approval automatically triggered her enrollment in Medicare Extra Help, which reduced her prescription drug costs from $230 monthly to under $18. She qualified for SNAP benefits of $162 per month, and Kentucky's senior homestead exemption reduced her annual property tax bill by $640. Eleanor's monthly financial gap did not just close, it reversed. For the first time in 3 years, the balance in her savings account went up at the end of a month instead of down. Eleanor told the counselor that she had spent 3 years believing she was failing. She said nobody had ever told her these programs existed, and the feeling of learning that she had options was, in her words, like being told it was okay to stop being afraid. Let me tell you about a man named Raymond. Raymond is 68 years old, lives in suburban Georgia, and retired 2 years ago from a career in transportation management that had been interrupted by a late career layoff at 61 that reduced his earnings for the final years of his working life. His Social Security benefit was lower than it would have been because of those reduced income years, and he had never fully recovered the retirement contributions he had stopped making during the 2-year search for new employment. Raymond came to a free Medicare counseling session at his local SHIP office, convinced that his Medicare coverage was fine because he had enrolled during his initial enrollment period and never thought about it again. The counselor discovered that Raymond had been paying a Medicare Part D premium for a plan that covered none of his 3 regular prescriptions at preferred rates, costing him nearly $280 per month in drug costs that a different plan would have covered for under $40. Because Raymond qualified for extra help through SSA, he was entitled to a special enrollment period to switch his Part D plan immediately, outside of the annual October enrollment window. The counselor helped him switch that same week. Raymond saved more than $2,800 in the first year alone, money he had been paying unnecessarily for 2 years without knowing there was a better option. He told the counselor, "I thought I had done everything right with Medicare. I had no idea I was overpaying every single month." Let me tell you about a couple named Frank and Sylvia. Frank is 70 and Sylvia is 67. They live in New Mexico and had experienced the financial double blow of Frank's serious health event at 64 that forced an early retirement and Sylvia's years spent as his primary caregiver, which had interrupted her own career at its highest earning point. Their combined income placed them in a difficult middle zone, too much to feel comfortable, not enough to feel secure. A benefits counselor helped them do a complete program review. Sylvia's income level qualified her for the specified low-income Medicare beneficiary program, which covered her Part B premium entirely. Their prescription costs were reduced through extra help coordination. A New Mexico Medicaid-linked dental benefit Sylvia had not known existed covered a dental procedure she had been postponing for 2 years because of cost. And a property tax freeze program for seniors in their county locked their property taxes at current levels so that rising assessments could never increase their housing costs again. Frank said afterward that the two of them had spent years feeling like they were behind because of what had happened to his health and to Sylvia's career during his recovery. He said learning that the system had programs built for exactly their situation, that they were not exceptions to be handled, but people the programs were designed for, changed something in how they felt about their retirement that he could not fully put into words. These stories are not exceptional. They are what happens when people learn what is available to them. The Medicare Savings Program at your state Medicaid office. Extra help through the Social Security Administration at ssa.gov. SNAP benefits through your local Department of Social Services. Property tax relief programs through your county assessor's office. The SHIP counseling program at shiphelp.org. The National Council on Aging's Benefits Checkup tool at benefitscheckup.org. These programs exist. They are funded, they are staffed, and in most cases, the only thing standing between a senior who qualifies and the benefits they are entitled to is the knowledge that the programs exist and the 15 minutes it takes to begin an application. Here is what I want to leave you with today, and I mean every word of it from a place of genuine respect for the lives you have built and the challenges you have carried. The data on wealth in America tells us that the majority of people who achieved financial security did so through patient, consistent, ordinary decisions repeated across decades. But it also tells us, for those who are willing to look honestly, that the people who did not get there were often not failed by their discipline or their effort. They were interrupted by life in ways that no financial plan fully anticipates, by illness and caregiving and job loss and divorce and all of the forces that do not show up in the spreadsheet. And for people in their 60s and 70s who are watching this and feeling the weight of those interruptions, I want to say something clearly. You are not behind. You did not fail. You played a difficult hand as well as anyone could have played it, and there are still options available to you right now that you have not yet claimed. The Area Agency on Aging in your county provides free benefits counseling and will sit with you to identify every program you qualify for. Your local SHIP office provides free Medicare counseling from trained volunteers who have no financial interest in what plan you choose. BenefitsCheckup.org can screen you for every federal and state program available in your zip code in under 30 minutes. These resources cost nothing to access. They are funded by the same system you contributed to through decades of work. Using them is not asking for charity. It is claiming what is rightfully yours. As always, everything shared in this video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not personalized financial, tax, or legal advice. Program eligibility varies by state and individual circumstances. Please verify current benefit eligibility at benefitscheckup.org, ssa.gov, medicare.gov, and your state's Medicaid office before making any financial decisions. Take care of yourselves. You have earned that, and I will see you in the next video.